We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
All right. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to a live episode of the BCSN SportsWrap. Brian Fulford live in the home studio. A.D. Drew doing what he does out on the road, coming back from somewhere in Georgia or South Carolina or Alabama. A.D., how you doing tonight? How are the roads out there?
Man, you would ask me, wouldn't you? I am
Of
stuck
course.
on I-95 South, and apparently there's some type of traffic jam ahead of me. Don't know if it's an accident or what, but we moving about maybe 10 miles an hour right now.
Beautiful. Oh, well, that gives you plenty of time to concentrate and chit chat with your boy here on this fine evening.
I need to be concentrating on this road before I become another statistic.
Of course. Always taking care of making sure your eyes are on the road ahead and your hands are on 10 and 2. But we know how you like to multitask.
Speaking of 10 and 2, man, how's everybody doing with that one last hour today?
I'm not gonna lie. As I got to the last hour and I'm trying to plan and pre-plan for the show, it caught me. I was good up until maybe about an hour ago.
Which should have been 2 hours ago, but anyway.
Which should have been 2 hours ago, exactly. So I'm gonna, for those who are watching or checking us out later via the podcast, any graphics that aren't right or off, and it's because I'm missing an hour. That's it.
And spell check.
Well, Jesus. Yeah, I try to stay away from typing as much. Maybe on our show notes page, there might be some stuff there's so much going on though right now, Drew. That's the thing. I just caught myself obviously outside of watching the championships of the SIAC, which we'll talk about here shortly. I was watching a little bit of the South Carolina and LSU women's basketball game, the SEC championship, and watch them sort of adjudicate suspensions for like 20 minutes, Drew. And it's I tell you, man, it's so much for 5 or 10 ejections and one player that quote unquote was fighting, technically not fighting, more like hard shoving and hard pushing somebody. But anyway, that's the rules these days. So
And Brian, there's this thing that you coach basketball. If you come off the bench during an altercation, it's supposed to be an automatic ejection. Now, Brian, you've coached basketball as long as I have. You talk about it at the start of the season. You may talk about it once during the season, especially if you're aware of another incident. But do you really practice it, Brian? Do you do you really go through that? It's kind of like a fire drill. When you used to go through the fire drills at school.
Yeah.
Yeah, you practice it. You really ain't paying attention. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to go over here on the other side of the courtyard and stuff and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
if a fire ever broke out, would you really react like you're supposed to react, man? That's
Hey,
kind of
look.
how that is when those fights break out during those teams. Is the assistant coach really doing what he or she is supposed to do and making sure that they grab all the players and make sure nobody comes off the bench, and then the managers and all that stuff make sure nobody comes off the bench, or are they running to the fire or the fight in this case?
Well, I will give both coaching staffs, the assistant coaching staffs of LSU and South Carolina, a lot of credit because they did a great job of scurrying. And the fortunate thing, it happened towards the middle of the court. So everybody had sort of equal distance to run to it. And there seemed like there were more, well, and there was more assistant coaches trying to hold people back than there were necessarily um, players. Although,
Players in the scrum.
yeah, exactly. And again, no punches were thrown. You had a hard shove along with a good push by Cordosa, the young lady who hit the 3-point shots. All in all,
Brian, are you going out or am I going out?
well, I'm gonna say I don't know. I
You
don't know.
always
It's
gonna
hard.
put it on me, but
Well, I don't know. I hear you. I hear you clearly. So, and I'm just talking. So, I don't
yeah,
know. You
because I
guys.
heard nothing that you just said.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll put it on you. But hopefully, if you guys in the chat room, you guys are my gauge. Appreciate you guys jumping in. Tamara T, Mary 305, Demetria Alford. Good to see you. Emmett Jones coming in. Edwin Moore. Glad. Yeah. Demetria said it's me going out. So. I don't know. I'm standing here in the same spot, sitting here in the same spot, and I don't know if obviously, must be my connection. So appreciate you, Demetria, for let me know that it's me. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. So enough with the stories. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know. I'm gonna adjust my mic and everything, and we'll see what's going on. But anyway, Drew. I was just, that was the highlight of the afternoon for me. But we got a lot of basketball talk, a lot of HBCU basketball talk to hit on. We've got the NAIA national tournament to speak on. We've got the end of the regular season for the Division I teams. Some teams have already started their conference tournaments. Of course, those outside of the MEAC and SWAC. We've got Division II playoffs, which, Drew, I know you thought those were going to be issued earlier today, but did you see the start time for the selection show?
Yeah, 10 o'clock Eastern and 11 o'clock Eastern, according to
Right.
the information that you sent me.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Tough to have a watch party at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night on Sunday night. I don't
Oh,
know.
that straight Zoom, Microsoft Teams, something else, something along that line.
Right. Right. They must be operating on the West Coast. That's the only thing I can think of. Or there must be some late West Coast games that are affecting, when these announcements can happen. So, but
Right,
yeah,
and
all of
then
that's happening.
obviously, yeah. I was gonna say, obviously, the other thing is, unlike on the Division 1 level where everybody's in one city to make to make the selections, each region has to get together and submit their 8 people that they're going to get in. So maybe those couple of West Coast clusters, after those conference tournaments finish and everything, having time to get together, because what a lot of people may or may not realize is coaches serve on these committees. So if you're coaching in a championship game and now you've won your championship, but you still have to sit and get with the rest of the committee and vote on who's the number one, who's the number two, etc. Yeah, you've got to allow a little bit more time than you would say on the Division 1 level where you've got an independent committee.
Yeah. Explain for people who may not be familiar. I know we've probably talked about it before on our show, but the regions. Explain a little bit how that is structured, and that's something that has always been. How long has that region setup been, to your knowledge?
Ever since I've been dealing with college basketball on the Division 2 level, there are 8 regions split up amongst the country. Usually, each region has 3 conferences within it. Each conference is entitled to an automatic bid, which we know normally goes to the tournament champion within the conference, and the rest of the region bracket is filled by at-large bids. The team that is the number one seed in a region hosts the tournament, hosts the first 3 rounds of the tournament. So essentially, number one gets 3 games at home should they win out all 3 of those games, and then they move on. The 8 regional winners move on to the final 8 or whatever they call it at a neutral site for the championship.
Right. So for
And
those.
those regional tournaments are, we have to look at when the bracket comes out. Sometimes it's 3 and 3 days. Sometimes it's 3 and 4 days, as far as the number of games, and sometimes that matters on if a men's and a women's team is hosting, which has happened before. The men's and the women's of who have been number one seeds.
All right. And for those who, if you're familiar primarily with the NCAA 64 field, it works all the same, because once you get to the Elite Eight, just imagine, 8 regions that each yields one participant in the Elite Eight. So that's essentially how that works. So eight teams of 8 hosted by the 1 seed, and there you go. And so that's how Division 2 works. Interesting concept. Interesting concept. Well, I lost A.D. Drew. Emmett said, so Emmett had a question here about explaining Division 1 and 2 tournaments. To my knowledge, Emmett, there's only now Division 1. I think it's been a couple of years and they consolidated Division 2. Now I'm gonna bring Drew when Drew gets back. I'll confirm that with him. But I believe Division 2 was consolidated into Division 1, maybe, if I recall, right around COVID. Right either before or after COVID happened is when Division 2 was consolidated into Division 1. Well, another big question regarding, is Benedict the best Division 2 HBCU? Now, I'm assuming, Emmett, you're asking about men's basketball. Well, it would be hard for Benedict to be the best Division 2 HBCU when they're not the best team in their own conference. That honor goes to Clark Atlanta. Welcome back, Drew. I was just answering Emmett's question about Benedict being the best Division II HBCU, and I was telling him it's hard to be that team when you can't beat Clark Atlanta, who's the SIC champion.
Correct.
I had just pulled up the rankings earlier. Going into today, Benedict was tied with Clark as a 7 in the region, as our 7 rank. Obviously, that will change. Morehouse was ranked 9th. Miles was ranked 10th.
And Miles beat Morehouse in the semifinals.
Right. Miles beat Morehouse. Clark beat Benedict. So the question is, will Miles move into the 8th spot?
And a lot of that's going to be answered if what happens with the teams in front of Miles and Clark Atlanta, because you have to finish in the top 8.
Right. Well, let's start with one of the big let's start with where you were. You were right there in Savannah for the SIC championships. And the game that just ended maybe about an hour ago was the men's bracket. And it's Clark Atlanta that actually defeated Miles Emmett. Defeated them 65-55 is the final score. I kind of cut the TV off, Drew, back when Clark was up by about 15-20, somewhere in there. I was like, yeah, I don't really see how Miles is going to get themselves back in this. This one seemed like it was all Clark.
And then I shot you a text. Miles went on an 11-0 run and cut it down to 4 points with 2 minutes to go.
See, there you go. See, I missed that text. That must have been right when all of the chaos was happening with the LSU South Carolina game.
I realized it was in our group chat that we have for the Black College Sports Network. When I sent that, and then I went back and looked back at it, it was right around that same time that Miles could finish that 11-0 run.
Yeah. Well, Clark was led by 20 points from Shamani Fuller. Jalen Neesmith had 15 points, and Chris Martin contributed 13. Those were your primary lead scorers for Clark. Miles, of course, Alvin Miles led Miles with 24 points. What did you see in that game, Drew? Clark really survived. Was it the semifinal round that they survived against Benedict?
Yes. They survived. They were down double digits in the first half of that game. I believe it may have been around 13, 14 at the half, something around that. They came out on the run in the second half, closed the gap, ultimately took the lead, and then the game went back and forth after that. And for Benedict, it was, if you've seen Benedict play this year, which you have, once you take the high flying and the up and down and fast breaking that Benedict likes to do away from them, and they miss a couple of shots, then Benedict is an entirely different team. And that's what Clark was able to come out and do in the second half of that semifinal game.
Yeah. And let me go back for a second. It was actually in the quarterfinals that Clark survived. They survived against Savannah State, 54-53.
In the game that Savannah State very easily could have won.
Exactly. So that was Savannah State playing as the host school. I believe they had already gotten at least one win under their belt in the previous round.
And what did I tell you was the most dangerous round for these teams?
The opening game.
For the team that had the double bye.
Yeah. Well, Clark ended up hanging on. They actually did a great job to win that ball game because they of course you're dealing with a
they stole victory from the jaws of defeat in that game.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. To come up with a 54-53 win. Then, of course, they did beat Benedict 78-68, and then they beat Miles 65-55. So winning the semifinal and championship game by 10 pretty much puts Clark into a great spot. And we won't know until I didn't get a chance, Drew, to kind of look up and see what the other teams in the region did from out of the Sunshine States Athletic Conference, I think is the name of the league, and the Gulf South.
And Gulf South.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see what those teams did. So again, the men's bracket, I believe, will be 10 o'clock. Is it 10 o'clock or 11? One of them's 10, one's 11.
I believe the men come out.
I lost you again. You broke up a little bit. What time? You said the men is 10?
Can you hear me now?
I got you now. That you said the men is 10 o'clock?
You sent it to me earlier. No, women is at 10:30, men is at 11.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Over on the women's side of the bracket, it was Miles College. The Miles getting a 75-72 victory over Kentucky State. That game, Drew, you talk about the last 2 minutes taking 20. The last 2 minutes of that game, I think, probably took 20 minutes of real time. Miles.
That was survive in advance by Miles. Miles tried to give that game to Kentucky State. They did everything they could to give that game to Kentucky State.
They did. There were enough free throws missed down the stretch by Miles to make it interesting when it really probably shouldn't have been. It really should have gone almost to script as it did the night before when they pulled away from who was it they pulled away from in overtime the night
Savannah
before?
State.
Savannah State, yes. They pulled away from Savannah State with a 13-0 victory in overtime. And they sort of carried that same momentum into the start of the second half where they outscored Kentucky State 22-15. Because you really had a close ball game. I mean, you had a 1-point ball game at the half in favor of Miles. Miles pulled ahead and really started to separate to the point where I didn't think Kentucky State had a shot. I mean, Falia Greer, she scored a game high 33 points. Falia, excuse me. She was practically unstoppable. It seemed like anytime she was 13 of 19 from the field, anytime she wanted to go inside to the basket, she did. And she looked like she was playing on a different court than anyone else that was out there.
Yeah. Did you notice the message that I sent about Falia Greer back in the group chat, Bryan?
No.
I've seen this girl. I saw this girl do that back in high school. I was on the other end of it in high school because I coached against her in high school. I know what that child can do as far as putting the ball in the hole.
Yeah, she was pretty much unstoppable, 33, and I believe she was the MVP.
Correct. Yeah. She was tournament MVP, and it's really amazing when you saw her the entire fourth quarter. She was cramping up and was coming in and out the game trying to get fluids. They had the massage bar trying to rub the cramps out. Oh, it was a great job by the trainers keeping her out on the court.
Yeah, she did a good job. I think Tamika Catchings was on the call, and I heard there was a report by Simone Stanley that she was complaining a little bit about the cramps, and Simone had pointed out that her teammates told her to suck it up. It's the championship. Suck it up. I said, good God. I said, that's what you call that's big time winning right there.
Right. And also another thing to point out, She missed about a month or so. I believe she had a broken hand or something like that, where she missed almost a month of the season. So for her to come back and still get this kind of production, being out essentially mid-January to mid-February, is tremendous to be able to find your rhythm like that again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So there you see Drew with a great photo there of the champions, the Miles Golden Bears. Is it Lady Golden Bears or just Golden Bears?
Lady Bears.
Lady Bears. Lady Bears. And unfortunately, Miles was trying to do something that had never been, well, I can't say never. It's been done 2 times before by a school, and that's winning the men and women's SIC championship. But alas, that honor will stay with which 2 teams was it, Drew?
Tuskegee, 1979. Benedict, 2004.
All right, the last 2 teams to sweep, and I believe that was Miles' first win, first
Yes,
SIC
Miles came
championship.
in 0-2. Miles came in 0-2 in championship games on the women's side in the SIAC. So for Coach Pete, as they call him, Pete Asman, to make the historic run for Miles was a tremendous feat, and he was very appreciative of his young ladies in the press conference.
And for Clark, what is it in terms of their championships? How many years is this their X amount of? It's not their first. I don't believe it's their first. It's not their first, is it?
First since 2017. The previous Clark. All right, here's where it gets interesting when you talk about Clark Atlanta. Everybody has to remember Clark College and Atlanta University merged in 1988. Since 1988, Clark came into the game 2-4 in SIAC championships, with those championships occurring in 2011 and 2017. The SIAC website, for whatever reason, lists pre-1988 lists the championships as Clark Atlanta. And if you know anything about SIAC history or HBCU history, those 2 schools did not merge until '88. So you really have no way of knowing whether those were Clark College championships or Atlanta University championships. So when a couple of us was together looking everything up, we started it in 1988. That way we knew we had an accurate number.
Good job by the on the premise media to sort of be the conference sports information directors. Nice job, guys.
Yeah, we pulled that one off.
What's your thoughts on, just for a quick moment before we go to break? Obviously, this event in Savannah started on the campus of Savannah State University, and then they moved over to the arena in Savannah for the championship. And you were at both.
Yes.
So I want to give you a moment to kind of speak on what kind of things did you see from the tournament and from the city of Savannah, the Savannah State University crowd that came, and maybe even other SIC crowds. Which school had a good crowd?
The what?
Oh, well. So what you're saying?
That was probably the one thing that was lacking for the 2 days that I was at the tournament, was the crowd. And with neither Savannah team being in the championship game, the crowd was sparse. We'll just use that word. What you saw on TV, if you watched it on the 411 Network Plus, yeah, that's how it looked. That's the best thing that I can say about it.
It looked like Clark showed up. It looked like Clark alumni.
Clark brought a student bus the 2 days that I was there. They bought a bus, but you're talking a charter. I think I really don't say they only brought one charter. So that's what, 48, 54 people on the charter.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole lot of people. Even let's give them two charters. You're still talking what, maybe 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
So not a whole lot. Even when Savannah was playing at home on their campus, the crowd was not what I have seen for a traditional Savannah State home game. Now, number one, students didn't get in free like they would during the regular season. We know that affects crowd. So uh, that's number one. I don't know what the price of the student tickets were, but we know that affected it. But outside of the crowd, tremendous job by the SIAC staff. I watched them break everything down on Saturday after the last game was done on Saturday, and they went over to the Inmart, I think it's called the Inmart Arena from the Tiger Arena, and started setting everything up. On Sunday when you walked in, you would have thought that event had been there the entire week. Everything was set up perfect. All the assets and merchandising were set exactly where they needed to be. The arena looked good. First class facility, the Inmart Arena. It's the home of a minor league hockey team. Yeah, it was a hockey bowl set if you saw it on TV. But the suites were available, the club lounges, all the stuff that you would want to be available were available. I just wish the tournament could have been held in a place like that the entire week because of the amenities that arena had. No disrespect to Tiger Arena, but you went from a college basketball facility to a professional facility.
What's the
But
distance in Mark from Tiger Arena?
I do not know what that actual distance was because obviously I drove it from my hotel, but from what the hotel, it was maybe my hotel was 10 minutes from Savannah State's campus, and I think it may have taken me like 14 minutes to get from the hotel to Market Arena.
Hmm.
So you figure maybe not that big of a distance considering 10 minutes to the hotel and then 14 minutes some other direction. Don't ask me what part of town I was in because I really don't know. I just let GPS take me where I needed to go.
Mm-hmm. Um, what other observations did you have? I know the challenge of hosting at a professional arena Doc chimed in. Good to see you, Doc chimed in. Doc said it's expensive to host a tournament in a professional arena for a full week. That it is versus a university partner. Um, what else in terms of the atmosphere, or maybe anything regarding how the media was treated? Was there good media coverage? I mean, obviously, all the games were streamed on ESPN Plus. Shout out to Charles Ward, Simone Stanley, the young lady who did play by play with Charles. Her name escapes me.
Yeah, her name escapes me too, but they did some Iron Man stuff. That was that 20 minutes between the games and 15 minutes at halftime. I talked to Charles maybe one time. I talked to him extensively maybe one time. I spoke to him, every day, but I really only got to talk to him extensively one time during the time that I was there. We had a good conversation. Uh, everything was what you expect. Media coverage could have been a lot better. I think I was independent. Oh shit.
Repeat, repeat, come back again because I think we lost you a little bit. Everything okay with you out there?
Yeah, just hit a dead spot. Good. That mean you didn't hear what I said.
We did.
I think I may have been
We
one
might
of
have
the.
heard it. We might have heard it, but that's all right. Go ahead. Keep going.
uh, I may have been one of the few independent media members there who weren't necessarily attached to any particular school. There was local TV there
Well, Drew.
TV station.
All right. Well, you're still in that dead spot. So let's do this. Let's take a commercial break.
Yeah,
Come
I'm
back.
gonna be in this dead spot for about another 2 miles.
Well, and I get it, but we'll try to do what we can. But let's start getting. We're gonna start getting. Yeah, I'm not even going to try to push you to finish that thought, just because of your connection. But I do want to get into talking a little bit about the NAIA bracket and the tournament, which was announced last. What was it? Thursday? Thursday is when it came out. I think it was Thursday. So we'll let you know where the HBCU teams are at. Coming up on the other side, and we still got to talk about the end of the regular season in the SWAC and the MEAC, and where those will come. Exactly, Jeremiah. We'll see if we can get that tin can on a rope to hit us back here shortly. You guys hang in there with us. We appreciate you coming in and joining us tonight. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network. We'll be back in just a moment.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden & Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden & Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D here. Give me a second. Hey, Drew, I'm sitting here trying to take care of multiple things here in between commercial breaks. Not the best time to try to do that. I want to appreciate everybody for watching us on Facebook and YouTube. Maybe you're watching us on X, on Twitter. So we appreciate you jumping in there. I did not pull the video that you want me to pull, Drew. I'm sorry. So I saw you post that in there.
Yeah, maybe you can pull it. So we can run it coming out the next commercial break.
We'll try. Yeah, I'll try.
But you asked me about the atmosphere there, and that video that I took, that minute and a half video, kind of encapsulate what the potential that this tournament has, because I did a video of the cheerleaders competing against each other. Anybody who's been to an HBCU basketball game knows what goes on during timeouts in between quarters with the cheerleaders. And unfortunately, Brian, that was the only time while I was there that we had two cheerleading groups, one for each school. You know, some schools brought bands, some schools didn't bring the band. Some schools brought cheerleaders, some schools didn't bring cheerleaders, some schools didn't bring nothing but the doggone basketball team. So that you asked me ways to improve the atmosphere at the tournament is getting, if you had to pin it on one thing, getting more school involvement in the event, where you have the bands, the cheerleaders there, which should filter down to more students wanting to be there. And then, of course, community engagement, alumni, local schools with the whole city, things like that. That would be the one thing that I think that could be improved on in the tournament. You know, Commissioner Holloman does have a plan for trying to improve those things. You know, he's a CIAA grad, Johnson C. Smith grad, so he knows what a real basketball tournament looks like. Not saying that the SIAC basketball tournament is not a real tournament, but the CIAA is the creme de la creme of basketball tournaments. So he knows what it looks like. That's what he wants to get to. The one thing that works against him is the fact that, Brian, this year, that doggone tournament was 8 days long, Brian. 8 days. It started on Sunday and finished the following Sunday. And you've been in these events. You've helped put on these events. 8 days is a long time, not only for the staff and people working, but for the players and et cetera, that have to be involved with putting on an event, a championship event, for 8 consecutive days.
It does bring up the question. Let me see. So I see Emmett wrote in here in the chat. He said Savannah is 52% black. Seems like the tournament in a nicer arena would help tourism dollars for the city. He continued. Yeah. So I think, and again, you're talking how many different teams? We got to say you got 14 teams. You got the double bye.
15 teams on the men's side, 14 on the women.
Okay, so everybody's in essentially,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And I think that can be a challenge.
Could be.
I understand, why the SWAC doesn't have 12, all 12. They narrowed it down to 8, and I don't know how long ago. Obviously with the expansion, maybe they used to have all 10 teams
It was 8
play
before
in the
expansion.
tournament. Okay, so it was always 8.
Yes.
I think it's something that the SIT about wearing down or wearing it down to the point of saying,
I think that's you this time, Brian.
okay, what I was saying.
Still you.
All right. Guys, yeah.
I see your lips moving, Brian. I hear nothing coming out, and I've got multiple bars now. Nothing. Nothing.
You're still not hearing me, huh?
Now I'm hearing you. Your last 2 minutes of soliloquy is lost.
All right. Well, I guess what I was trying to get at was the fact about the SIC may want to consider the possibility of moving to either a different model where instead of trying to have 8 days at a site, taking that Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday and playing those on campus locations. Okay. And then bringing, I guess, maybe the top 12, or I would say even getting to the 8. Maybe if you want to bring the 12, bring the 12. But yeah, I think at least if you can get down to 12, which I think is what the CIAA has. The CIAA has 12 teams. So maybe getting to 12 might do something in that respect to shorten the time that the conference staff is there. It might even help draw in more people. I don't know. Just a thought there.
Yeah, because I mean, let's be real. Sunday, there wasn't even mom and daddy wasn't even at the game last Sunday.
Right. I'd say that'd be a problem. That'd be a problem.
Yeah, and you want to give a championship experience to each of the teams, but championship experience where you are traveling 4, 6, 8, some schools 10 hours to play one game, a one and done situation in front of 50 people, and 25 of those 50 are staff.
That's a good question. Dot brings in a great question. What's the goal for the SIC presidents? That is always the challenge of trying to understand what's the goal. You know, um, you know that's a great question.
And I'm pretty
And
sure
there's
the
no way.
commissioner knows that, which is why he does what he does, since he can't make a move without the presidents and the athletic directors council.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, I know. Word has it that the tournament will not be back in Atlanta. I mean, in Savannah next year.
That's interesting. Um, any guesses? Where would let me rephrase that. What are the popular cities that the SIAC could and should think about moving to if they're not going to be back in Savannah? And you guys in the chat room, feel free to jump in there with any thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, you got three cities, Brian. Atlanta, Birmingham, and I'm gonna throw one out there that people don't think about, but it's good basketball country, Memphis.
Is Memphis, though, in the footprint of the SIAC, though?
They got a team there. Let's start off with that, Brian.
Okay. That's a good point.
You've got Lemoyne Owen, local team. You've got Lane College, which is not that far from Memphis, a couple-hour ride in the same state. Birmingham, Miles, is 3 hours from Memphis. So you're cooking with a little bit of something with the Memphis.
Okay.
You've got the attraction, you've got Beale Street, so you've got entertainment away from the tournament.
Okay. All right.
Those are just the three. Now, obviously, a Memphis for a Edward Waters is a logistical challenge. Speaking of Edward Waters, you and I have been to a tournament in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville does a great job putting on basketball tournaments. So, but for the Georgia schools, Jacksonville is good. Outside the Georgia schools, once again, you get into that travel stuff. Obviously, Atlanta is kind of the geographical center of the SIAC. The SIAC offices are there, kind of like SWAC offices are in Birmingham. It makes sense to be in the city where your offices are at.
Good point. Good point. A lot of people chiming in. Israel jumps in. Memphis would be good for any conference tournament, as well as New Orleans.
Not for the SIAC. New Orleans
is a good spot for SIAC. No,
there's no footprint in New Orleans.
Okay.
Good city for a basketball tournament, yes, but for the SIAC, no.
Rozier jumps in. Kelvin Rozier, good to see you jumping in. How about Mobile, Alabama?
You've got a host institution in Spring Hill. You got a predominantly black city. Travel to Mobile is not that bad for everybody. Mobile would be a possible consideration. I can see Mobile.
Okay.
They've got multiple basketball arenas down there if you want to take it off campus. So I can see a Mobile. I could live with a Mobile.
Well, let's see. Champ jumps in, Atlanta or Memphis. Well, it'll be what so what kind of decision, or when might we hear something in terms of when this announcement might happen? You think this is kind of a summertime announcement?
I think maybe he's working on everything. I know he's got some RFPs out there talking to Commissioner Holloway. It would be great if they could do kind of like what the SWAC did. They announced in the summer. They announced they were, like for baseball. They announced they were going to Atlanta for the next 3 years. A couple of years ago. If they could get that and say, hey, these cities are going to be hosting these championships, be it a 1 year or be it a 2-3 year deal, that would be good. So me, Joe fan, can start planning instead of basketball season coming around and that trying to figure out if I want to what's the whole city, and then figuring out if I want to go. Now, if I know in July that Atlanta's going to be the city, or Birmingham is going to be the city, or whatever, Savannah is going to be the city, I can go ahead and start looking for flights if I'm going to go there. I can go ahead and I can book a hotel and I always cancel the hotel. Stuff like that, I can go ahead and start planning ahead and get those better rates. And you know, as us as FAMUans, we understand about trying to book ahead and get those good rates.
Mm-hmm. Doc asks an interesting question. Doc asks, why does a conference tournament need to be in the footprint? Curious. Hey, look, I would tend to think the reason you want to have it in the footprint is because there's familiarity with the schools.
For the students.
Yeah, even the community base. I mean, I'm trying to think of a school that, or a tournament, somebody that doesn't have I'm trying to think of somebody that has a tournament postseason in a area that's outside of their footprint. I don't know if that exists.
Didn't the ACC try to take their tournament to New York City?
Did they still have Syracuse in the well, Syracuse is
in the ACC, but there's no team in New York City.
But I think, well, the fact that, okay, here's the caveat with the New York ACC thing. They've done tournaments or sort of those in-season classic things that have always drawn Duke. Duke treats New York City like almost a second Northeast home. Notre Dame is real big in the New York area. So I think the ACC had an inclination that we've got, I don't know if necessarily it's a footprint, but we've got people there. And yes, the fact that Syracuse is in upstate New York, but there are a lot of people in New York City that are Syracuse fans and grads. So, you know, when Syracuse was in the Big East, Syracuse and St. John was a big game, right? And where was that game usually played? In the Garden.
MSG.
Yeah. Several West Coast schools traveled along.
Kind of like CIAA is in Baltimore, and technically there's no team in Baltimore. Bowie State being the closest team to Baltimore.
Okay, but I get it. The thing with Vegas, though, Vegas is a great destination, though. Vegas gets the opportunity. Yeah, I know, like several schools. I think there are 5 postseason tournaments being held in Vegas, in Las Vegas.
And they got more than enough arenas.
Yeah, especially if you're a West Coast athletic type conference. Heck yeah, you want to go to Vegas. Your fans, there are plenty of hotels. You know, your fan base would love to go to Vegas for the postseason tournament. I think that one.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that one's a little extra incentive.
Yeah, but hell, if that's the case, you know, you look at Orlando and Miami.
I get it.
But I will say the challenge with especially Miami during this time of the year is spring break time and hotel rates.
Yeah. All right. Let's we kind of ran over our break here. I want to get into mentioning these NAIA schools here. So let's do this. I'm gonna take a short one. Let's take a short break, real quick. Step away for a second.
Get my video ready.
Are you getting to a point where you're about to have video?
No, I was gonna say, see if you can get the video ready. I can send it back to you right quick.
Oh my God! You want me to? Which video is this again?
The cheerleading video.
Oh. All right.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat. It's in the group chat.
All right. I'll see if I can find it and download it real quick. I'm still doing 5 things. I need you on site, Drew. I'm trying to produce and do all this. It's a pain in the rear. But anyway, all right, let's do this. Let's take a short break. Might even be a little longer than I planned now that Drew wants me to download a video. And come back, and we'll get into talking about the NAIA. We need to get into that here as we're moving to hour number 2. Appreciate you guys hanging in, watching with us. We'll be back in just a moment. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at MyMajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include the Sci-Fi Sisters, Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager Tim Russ, and from the Fairly Odd Parents Gary L. Gray.
What up, y'all? It's Gary Gray. Check it out. I need you to do something for me. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for Urban NerdCon. It's going to be lit. Okay. Our heroes, our villains, everyone's con. See y'all there.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. here. Drew's exploits at the scorers table there at Tiger Arena, filming the who was that again, Drew?
That was Clark Atlanta and Benedict. That was during the Clark Atlanta Benedict men's game, and that was doing a media timeout. And just to set it up, during the first media timeout of the day, I saw the two cheerleading corps kind of battling it out to the music that was playing. And I said to myself, if they do this during this next timeout, I'm supposed to pull out both these iPads and record both of them. And then I did that and blended them together to put that video together. Just some of the sounds for those who weren't there. And one of those things that if you haven't been to a HBCU basketball tournament, just one of those things that you miss.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I will keep my observations and thoughts and questions that I posted in our chat group to myself. But some things I just say some things I'll never get used to. That's it. I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
I'll remember that now.
Yes. Okay. And hopefully I don't have to go back deep into hope I don't get thrown into YouTube jail for the music. You know, a lot of times in our broadcast that we do, I end up having to go in just a little behind the scenes. I usually have to go into the back end and sort of
mute it.
Adjust things, and because of the music and stuff at live events, which we don't have any control over. But a lot of that stuff ends up, having copyright tags on it, and it just becomes a big mess. Okay. The NAIA national tournament, men and women's national tournament, that was announced the other day. Thursday, I believe it was.
Correct.
And so among the NAIAs, of course, we had Langston, who won the Sun Conference, the men, the Florida Memorial.
Langston won the Sooner. Wrong conference. Langston won the
Sooner. What I say? The Sun. Wrong way. So
yes.
Langston won the Sooner Athletic Conference. Florida Memorial won the Sun Conference.
There we go.
And then and then Philander Smith won the GCAC. On the women's side, you had essentially just Rust College winning the GCAC.
Regular season and conference title.
Regular season and conference. So there were 5 when the bracket came out, there were 5 men's teams that were put into the tournament. Obviously, we just gave you those 3. The other 2 to make it into the field was Texas College, who will make their very first appearance in the NAIA Nationals, and Tougaloo College, who I believe Tougaloo went in last year highly ranked, winning
but seeded low.
Yeah, highly ranked, seeded low in the GCAC as the champ. So the seedings that came out for the men, and I'll pull up the brackets here. I don't know how well this will come across for those who are watching, but the first bracket I have up is
if you're on the phone, just give it up.
Yeah, so I'll just describe it. The Naismith bracket is the men's bracket featuring which has Florida Memorial as a 2 seed. They will be the 2 seed, and I'll go through all the breakdown of their opponent, and so in a moment. But I just wanted to first put up the bracket. You can see Florida Memorial all the way down at the bottom as the 2 seed in the Naismith bracket. And so again, the way the So let me. I guess we got to explain first how the NAIA operates, Drew, because it's even different than the NAIA. The NAIA national tournaments are broken up into 16 groups of 4. So there are 16 sites that are usually hosted by the, if not the highest seed, it's usually a host that put in the bid to get it. For example, Florida Memorial will travel to Waxahachie, Texas, and SAGU, Southwest Assemblies of God University, who's part of the Sooner Athletic Conference. They will actually be the host school for that. Okay. And so that's why you don't see Florida Memorial hosting. Not sure whether Florida Memorial put in a bid or what. So that's that region. Over in the Liston bracket, if you look down at the bottom there, for those who are watching, the 15 seed is Philander Smith. Philander Smith will take on a 2 seed, and they will travel to Williamsburg, Kentucky. So those are the 2 HBCUs there in those 2 brackets. Then we move over to the Kramer bracket, and I think this is where you have I think this is the one where you have a couple of HBCUs, if I'm not mistaken. You have Texas College as a 9 seed taking on a 8 seed opponent in Henderson, Tennessee. So Texas College, again, a 9 seed. And then, of course, the actual bracket where you do have 2 in the Dewar region is where you have the 1 seed Langston Lions, who they tied with Grace of Indiana. I believe Grace is the number 1 team in the nation. Langston's the number 2 team in the nation. They both finished the season with the most wins in the field at 30. So they are the only 30-team winners going into the field of 64. There you see Langston. They are hosting. Langston University is hosting a quad. And then you have in Marion, Indiana, down in the bottom quad as a 10 seed is Tougaloo. Well, they will take on a 7 seed Tennessee Southern. So again, Florida Memorial happens to be one of 5 schools from the Sun Conference to make the tournament. That's I think there's only one other conference that has more people in it, and they have 6. Before I kind of go through the breakdown of games, Drew, any comments about the seeding on the men's bracket for the NAIA teams?
I think they got it right for the most part. Tougaloo doesn't have that first round loss to Dillard. I think Tougaloo would have been a top 8 seed. But other than that, I really think they got it right.
Just a few statistics here for you, for people if you were curious. The Florida Memorial Lions finished the regular season 24-6. The last time they were in the tournament was 2022. They have made 4 appearances. This is their 4th appearance in the national tournament. They have a record of 2-3. So 2-3 heading into this season. Langston, of course, as mentioned, they are 30-1. This is the 2nd consecutive year that Langston has been in the tournament. They've been in the tournament 8 times overall and have a overall record of 5-7 in the national tournament. For Philander Smith, a record of 21-8. The last time Philander Smith made it to the tournament was actually 2015. This is their 4th appearance. Philander Smith is 0-3 in their previous appearances to the national tournament. So they are looking for their very first win. As mentioned, Texas College, who finished with the second highest ARC ranking from out of their conference, the Red River Conference. They went to the semifinals of the Red River. They finished 22-8. Again, their very first appearance. They're one of two men's teams that are making their very first appearance in the tournament, in the national tournament. And then there's Tougaloo. Tougaloo was the GCAC regular season champion. That's how they earned their bid.
No audio, Brian. No audio.
All right. So, Drew, I'm on the mindset. Bag up this show. Go home because this is, I don't know.
Brian, I'm going to send you one of my old headsets.
I would test what you. All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a commercial break.
We still not corrected.
I'm going to take a break. We're going to come back.
Itchy, squirmy, scratchy, family not getting clean? Get Charmin Ultra Strong. Go get 'em. It just cleans better. With a diamond weave texture, your family can use less while still getting clean.
Goodbye, itchy squirm. Hello, cream bottom.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
At Hampton Law, our primary goal is to provide non-traditional yet effective solutions and redefine the approach to client legal concerns. As your trusted legal advisor, we believe in sophisticated, personalized services that eliminate the confusion and complexity sometimes associated with legal matters. Our high standard for client care and concern, coupled with our extensive legal knowledge and skills, make Hampton Law a resource focused on the protection of the client's interest and overall goals. We value our clients and truly enjoy working with them. Visit thamptonlaw.com to conveniently schedule an appointment online. Tamika Hampton Esquire, 1631 Rock Springs Road, Suite 336, Apopka, Florida, 407-494-1471. thamptonlaw.com.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Stride K-12 powered schools are ready to put over 20 years of being a leader in online education to work for you. Dive into curriculum design for the online classroom. Team up with state-certified teachers trained in virtual instruction. Take control of your child's education journey. Discover the power of personalized learning with a leader experienced in preparing kids for a future they can be excited about. Take charge. Stride K-12. Enroll now for the fall.
Okay. Welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. We're going to give it another try here. Are you hearing me now? Anybody hearing me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yeah. And speaking of, can you hear me, Brian? You know, 1 week away from the anniversary, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And,
trying to process all of that. So.
and on a more somber note, we're 2 years removed from my sister as of tomorrow.
Yeah. Prayers and well wishes and thoughts to anybody who may be dealing with an anniversary of a tragedy. At the school I teach, we've had a tough week as we lost one of our students at our school. So, been a one of those weeks that you lean on your faith and belief and prayers, and I'm learning every day to go to God for help, for advice, and just to talk to Him, and as often as I can. I think with age comes wisdom, and I understand what the elders were saying 20 something years ago when I was hanging out with the older folk back in college. So I'm thankful that I'm around this long. Coming up on 50 in about less than 2 months, Drew. But I still feel 40 something though. How about that?
That's because you still are 40 something.
There you go. See, there's a shot.
We all ain't able.
All right. So it sounds like the audio is back, hopefully. So I don't know what you guys heard, but I was giving out. Yeah, so I was giving out some great stats. What's the last thing you think you heard, Drew? Did you hear any of the breakdown of the teams?
The last one I heard you talk about was Texas College.
All right. So I'm going to assume that a lot of people were in a similar boat. I mentioned how Texas College was making their first appearance. Tougaloo was the fifth school that I wanted to mention, in the fact that they were the GCAC regular season champs, finished 23-6, are making their second consecutive appearance and their 10th overall appearance in the NAIA national tournament. They have a record of 5-8 in the tournament. So 5-8 sits right there, just a game off of Langston's career record of 5-7. All right, so here's the matchups. Again, you saw the bracket, but just to let you know, all of these games appear to be happening on March 15th. Again, Florida Memorial taking their games. They are in a 2 seed. Sagu is the host school. That's in Waxahachie, Texas. Florida Memorial, will take on Evangel. The winner will take on Sagu and Baker. That's a 7-10. So Florida Memorial, if you believe in the favorites being the higher seeds, Florida Memorial would kind of be the favorite and have a good shot to probably take on Sagu on their home court. And one thing I will say about the NAIA, Drew, a lot of these NAIAs, they do a great job of their coverage with the live stats, and I think you can even watch a lot of these games
for a small fee.
Most of them have gone pay-per-view, because I remember
the tournament is controlled by the NAIA, so that's all pay-per-view. Regular season is controlled by the schools and the conferences, and those that's an individual decision.
So, but these these 16 sites, though, they're not all pay-per-view, because I recall seeing some games that weren't behind the pay-per-view wall.
They normally are, or maybe the NAIA takes over at the in Kansas City.
I thought they did take over I know they take over in Kansas City when they get to the well, I don't know if they call it the Sweet 16. What do they call it?
Round of.
The round of 16. So
Yeah.
essentially everybody is trying to get to the round of 16. Okay, in one site in Kansas City. Let's go over to Texas College, making their first appearance. Freed Hardeman College located in Tennessee. That is where Texas College is traveling to. They will play at 5 o'clock Central Time as the 9 seed going up against 8 seed Point Park out of Pennsylvania. Also interesting to note in their bracket is Loyola of Louisiana, who quite unexpectedly won the Red River, if I'm not mistaken.
Southern States.
Southern States is what they won. I don't think they were expected to win the state, even though I think Loyola the defending champs, or 2 years ago when they won.
That was 2 years ago when they won.
Right.
But they did steal a bid.
Yes, they stole a bid, which might have cost Xavier. Matter of fact, and talk about stealing a bid, of course, Xavier didn't help themselves by losing in the first round of their conference tournament. Langston University, of course, Langston, they play their first game on March 15th, 6 o'clock Central against number 15 seed Bellevue of Nebraska. The Langston Lions went to the 16 last year, should get there again this year. It'll be the third year in a row for Coach Chris Wright. And let's see if that team can make a run a little further than they went last year. Tougaloo also looking to make the round of 16. They are a 10 seed. They will travel to Marion, Indiana. Indiana Wesleyan is the host school. They will play at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time as the second game of the night against number 7 seed Tennessee Southern. So that'll be an interesting contest. And then, of course, Philander Smith, they are traveling to Williamsburg, Kentucky, taking on that's hosted by Cumberland's Kentucky. That is the host school, and that also is who Philander Smith has to play. 6 o'clock on March 15th. So,
doesn't look like anybody really got screwed with the travel this year. Like,
repeat what you said. Repeat what you said, because you hit a spot where your signal kind of went bad. All right, so we may have lost Drew there with his signal connection. I think Drew was saying that he didn't think anybody got screwed. In terms of their travel locations. Again, Philander, Arkansas, it's not a far drive or a ride over to Kentucky. The Mississippi to Indiana. Now, I believe Marion, Indiana is, I'm trying to recall, Marion, from Mississippi to Indiana is probably not an 8-hour ride. I can't imagine it'd be that far. Okay, Drew, you're back.
I'm back. I didn't hear what you said.
No. I was just you were commenting about the distance, so I was just kind of filling in where you were going with that. What were you
Florida
adding?
Memorial, I would say Florida Memorial should be able to catch a flight to Texas for them. So that should be a easy trip for them.
Easy, yeah. Well, that's the furthest. Well, obviously, Florida Memorial is probably going to be the furthest on any time they'd have to travel, probably outside of the state. So,
yeah, it's 10 hours just to get across the state from Pensacola to Miami.
Yeah. So, there you go. All right, let's go over to the women's side of the field, if we can. Now, on the women's side, there are only 4 schools. And we have, of course, we have mentioned, we have the defending GCAC 4-time defending champs, Russ College. They're actually a 10 seed. The Langston Lions get in as an 8 seed. Langston is one of 5 schools from the Sooner Athletic Conference on the women's side. And, of course, Langston was the runner-up in the conference tournament. So, really, when you think when 5 teams of the Sooner got in, Langston probably would have got in just by even making it to the semifinals.
Correct. But they got the automatic.
They got the automatic, though, which helped with the seeding, though. So, I mean, they're an 8 seed, so that's where that comes into play. Xavier University of Louisiana, they are making their 23rd appearance in the NAIA Nationals.
Repeat that number.
23, the Jordan year. It is their 6th. Actually, it is tied for the 6th most among any team in the field. And that's just in the past 30 years. I was reading the stats on Xavier's athletic website. So they have, in the past 30 years, 23 times they have been to the NAIA National Tournament. And for head coach Bo Browder, it is his 18th appearance in the NAIA Nationals, leading Xavier in the 25 years that he has been the head coach. And then, of course,
that's a pretty good track record.
Oh, that's a great track record. Great track record. And, of course, the inaugural debut for Fisk University, it is their first appearance in the NAIA. Fisk University. Some quick
and they
stats.
have GCAC Player of the Year, Maya Buchanan, on their team, and we've seen her go for 60 this year and 50 this year. So it's going to be good, a player of her caliber against that level of competition, what she's going to be able to do. Can she wheel her team through a couple of rounds? That's what I want to see with that Fisk team.
Last year, was she was an All-American last year, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I believe so. I believe she was a national All-American. Can't remember which team she was on, but I believe she was All-American last year.
All right. So
she should. I honestly, I really don't see a reason why she should not be first team this year, national.
I was going to say, I mean, she led the NAIA in rebounds, and I think her scoring average was probably
she was top 5.
I was going to say it was probably top 5. Yeah, so I mean, she should definitely get some strong consideration for being a first-team All-American in the NAIA. So Fisk finished the season 20-9. As mentioned, this is their first time. Langston, the runner-up of the Sooner Athletic Conference, they finished their regular season 24-7. The last time the Langston women made the tournament was 2021. And this is, look, we talked about how impressive it was for Xavier. This is actually the 15th time that Langston University has been to the NAIA National Tournament. For Russ College, Russ 28-3. This is the 4th consecutive year that they have been to the tournament. They've only been to the Nationals 4 years. Well, guess what? That's the 4 years under Coach Eric Jackson in which they have been or have created the dynasty that they have created in the GCAC. And then Xavier finished there.
Before you jump off of Russ, can I throw the asterisk into that, Brian?
Okay.
They only became members of the NAIA in 2017.
Okay. So let me see. Do the math. That's 7 years.
Correct.
7 years. Okay. Before that, they were what level?
D3.
Okay. D3. Good to know. Good to know. And then Xavier University, 25-6 is their record. They actually missed the tournament last season, so the last time they were in the tournament was 2022. And as mentioned, this is their 23rd year. Okay, the game breakdowns. Of course, these games also begin on March 15th. So March 15th is pretty much National NAIA Tournament Day. So, that's I don't know if folks are taking the day off. If you're taking the day off, and I don't know if you can even wager on these things, but the NAIA tournament has center stage on March 15th and 16th around the country. Langston University under head coach Kevin Harrod. They will be in the Sioux City, Iowa, at Dordt University, DORDT of Iowa. They are the #1 seed and the host school. And so Langston will take on Spring Arbor out of Michigan. That's who they'll play on the 15th at 5 p.m. Central Time.
Where is that at again?
They are playing in Sioux City, Iowa. Sioux City, Iowa. Hosted by Dordt University. I believe it's a university. Maybe it's a college. But Dordt is all I know. DORDT. That's Langston taking on Spring Arbor. Rust has to travel to Iowa as well, but Rust is going to Dubuque, Iowa, where Clark, not Caitlin Clark, but Clark of Iowa. How funny is that? They're actually the 2 seed, but they are the defending national champs. And so Rust will open up against Dakota Wesleyan of San Diego, and the winner of that will probably have to play Clark on their home court. So a 10 seed for Rust, but Coach Eric Jackson, I'm sure, will have his ladies ready to take out both opponents, starting with Dakota Wesleyan. So that should be a good opportunity there. They play at 7:30 Central on the 15th in game number 2 of the night. Coach Browder and Xavier, they are traveling to, I hope I'm saying the name right, Siloam Springs, Arkansas. Have you ever heard of it?
No. Just because I'm from the Midwest, Brian, don't mean I've heard of every country town.
I just figured Arkansas might be a little closer to St. Louis. So John Brown of Arkansas. John Brown of Arkansas. They are the 3 seed in the host school, and that is who Xavier will play at 6 p.m. in the first game of the night on March 15th as the 14 seed. And Fisk University. Fisk, of course, Coach Victoria Crawford getting Fisk to the tournament for the first time in school history. They will take on the #1 seed, the host school, Indiana Wesleyan, in Marion, Indiana. Indiana Wesleyan is ranked 4th in the nation. So top-ranked team going up against one of the top-ranked players in NAIA. That should be an interesting matchup. That actually is a 12:30 Eastern time game. So that's actually not a far drive from Nashville, Tennessee to Marion, Indiana. Probably about a 4, maybe 5-hour drive. Any thoughts there on the teams and their locations, Drew?
No, I think everything is pretty manageable. Teams wound up where we thought they would be. The seeds came out right. But I do have one point I wanted to bring out about the NAIA tournament, but I'm going to get to it in just a second. I wanted to hit a couple of comments in the chat first. To Emmett Jones, yes, Kenny Anderson is still coaching at Fisk. Talk to him during the GCAC championship last week. Also, Blue Jacket for life. I don't know how you missed me, bro. I was down on the floor most of the day Saturday. And I was sitting courtside today.
Look at you.
You were there today.
Yeah, he was the one taking pictures with Tamika Catchings.
Yeah. But the point I wanted to make, if you go back to the interview that I did with Commissioner Kiki Baker Barnes, and we brought out the fact that the GCAC, soon to be HBCU AC, has 2 automatic bids to the NAIA tournament, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Of the 9 HBCUs that are participating, in the men's and women's NAIA tournament. That's 128 teams, Brian. There was only one at-large HBCU, that being Texas College. That's why it was important for the GCAC, some HBCU AC, to guarantee that they get 2 teams in every year.
Great point. Great point. Anything else?
No, that was it. That was the point I wanted to bring out.
Good stuff. Well, the NAIA tournament again begins March 15th. I believe that is Thursday. Or is it Friday? Look at the calendar. Nope, it's Friday. So on Friday, that's when you have day 1. And then all of the next round games will be on the 16th. Okay, let's do this. Let's take a break and come back and get into the release of the SWAC tournament bracket as well as the MEAC. We won't be long because Drew and I were kind of talking. We may try to do we're probably going to do a deep dive on the SWAC tournament tomorrow. So make sure to stay tuned. If you're not already, well, that's just me now. If you're not already subscribed to the Black College Sports Network on Facebook, on Twitter or Instagram at MyBCSN1, you want to encourage you to go ahead and do so. Or if you're, YouTube, make sure you're following us on YouTube, the Jericho Broadcast Network's YouTube page. Drew and I were talking about we're going to do a special SWAC tournament preview show. The SWAC tournament begins Wednesday. The MEAC tournament begins, I believe, Thursday. We'll show that here in just a second. So we thought we'd give a look at the matchups, but we'll talk about the matchups just very briefly. We'll kind of glance at them and kind of go through just some initial thoughts. I know both Drew and I know me already. I'm already starting to look at some different angles and trying to take a look at the betting markets to see who handicappers think are the favorites. It's fascinating in the SWAC on the men's level. And so we'll try to get some of our regulars and some of the different folks that contribute and that are part of the Black College Sports Network on that show tomorrow and kind of get their thoughts. So just a little tease for tomorrow. But coming up after this short break, we're going to talk about the SWAC tournament, the MEAC tournament, and what's ahead on the Division I level. So hang with us just a little while longer. You're watching the BCSN SportsWrap right here on the Black College Sports Network.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app. as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
All right, welcome back to the BCSN SportsWrap. Bryan and A.D. here. Appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. Been a bit of a choppy show. Doesn't feel like my A effort. Doesn't feel like the A audio today. But we're powering through, Drew. Sometimes you just gotta suck it up and make your way through the adversity, right?
Yes, sir. And Brian, also remind me if I'm ever in a car that may be in question, not to come the route that I'm coming right now, because I've hit more dead spots on this particular route than any route that I normally would take.
What puts you on the route that you're on? Let me ask that question.
Waze.
Waze gives you options, though.
Yeah, of course, this is the first time that I have gone to Savannah from where I live at now. And, and obviously trying to do a podcast while you're in your car, normally you don't talk for this long in the car, so you never realize how many dead spots that you have. But when you're trying to be on the phone for 3 hours while you're driving, that's when you realize where every dead spot along a certain route is.
Right. Blue Jacket for Life says, blame it on the time change, Drew. Blame it on the time change, like everybody else.
Yeah, blame it on the time change.
Hey, I'm blaming this whole show on the time change, to be honest with you. I think I may go in and just rewrite the whole script name on the title and just blame it on the time change. So
there you go. Speaking of the time change, something else that I noticed on this drive, because I'm traveling westward, the sun in your eyes, is at a certain time of the day, you're just not used to it yet. And when the sun is right there below your sun visor and you try to stand taller in your car than you really are, and try to duck and dodge, try to keep the sun at that right spot, and then you go around a little curve, and then, God dog, as soon as I got the sun out my eyes, here he comes again.
Yeah. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it.
Yeah. But it's that time where it's too dark to put on shades. I mean, it's too dark to put on shades, and it's not enough light, so it's, anyway, the sun is just not at the right spot. And you like, thank God for that tree to block the sun out for at least these 100 feet that I'm supposed to drive.
Okay. Well, let's get to the Division I side of things. So I think we'll be close to wrapping up the show when we get to the Division I side of things here. Let's start with the MEAC. The MEAC wrapped up their regular season on Thursday night. I don't know how much of it you got a chance to watch. Did you get to watch any at all of the MEAC final games?
No, I did not.
All right, don't worry. I only watched a little bit of it. It was more fun, kind of poking fun at the back and forth going on between Howard and Norfolk State people. But anyway, I put a poll out to kind of just gauge where people's thoughts were. And I asked, remember back at the beginning of the season, late December, early January, I asked the question, which school had the best basketball programs? And I say programs, men and women. And I think some of the options at the time that I threw out there was obviously Norfolk State. I think my poll that I put out there, I put Grambling. I think previously I may have, at the beginning of the year, I think we talked Southern. Definitely we talked Langston University. We talked Xavier. We talked Miles College. In terms of which school had the best. So the poll that I put out.
And when you say
yesterday,
best, you're talking men and women. You're talking men and women, correct?
To basically say, hey, that's a basketball school. Like they're men and women's basketball. Like a lot of obviously the model at the HBCU level is double headers. Now, yes, we've learned. Shout out to the Carlos Brown show on Saturday. Carlos and Charles kind of dropped the nugget out that the SWAC is going to be changing their format, so the double headers during the week are going to go away. But the MEAC still probably is holding on to that. But obviously the double header is important. Why? Because you're selling a ticket for 2 games. Rarely, obviously if you bought a season ticket package, you're getting 2 games. So the question is, are you going to stay and watch both games? Or, hey, you bought the package. You're like, yeah, our women's team aren't that good, so I'm going to wait, get to the men's game. Or, hey, our men's team isn't good. Right, the men's team isn't good, so I'm going to go watch the women's game and then kind of leave about halftime of the men's game. Or maybe even
FAMU.
Yeah, oh, there you go. So that was the impetus behind the question and saying who has the best men and women's team. And the 4 teams based on this season: Norfolk State, Grambling State, Langston, and Miles College.
Can I throw some that missed the cut list but should have been in consideration?
There was definitely an opportunity to add a write-in candidate. Yes.
Okay. Give me those 4 again.
Okay, the 4 on the poll were Norfolk State, Grambling State, Miles College, and Langston University.
First runner-up is Jackson State, hands down. Being a respectable, obviously the women's program is the creme de la creme.
Okay. Both teams made it to the tournament, obviously, of the SWAC tournament. Jackson's men are a seed.
Yeah, I'll give you one. Another honorable mention. Down a little bit this year, but Tuskegee for the last few years would have been on that list.
That's a good point. They would have been. Yep.
Benedict up until this year would have been on that list.
Benedict definitely would have been on that list. You're right.
Savannah State should still be on your consideration list. Fayetteville should be on your list.
Well, they would be a consideration. Karen Griffin said Florida Memorial.
We may be up to about 9 or 10 with some of those.
Hold on. This is what's funny. You're breaking up a little bit, but this is what's funny about the reason I chose those 4 is because they have championships behind them. Now, I know a lot of people, there's a lot of honorable mentions, right? Yes, I mean Jackson State's a good ticket, Benedict's a good ticket. Florida Memorial, I see Edwin said Tougaloo. I don't know about Tougaloo's women. How is Tougaloo's women, Edwin? Are they having a good year? Have they had a good year? Talladega went back when the guys who were at Langston were at Talladega. Talladega was that program when they had Chris Wright and Kevin Herrod leading the Talladega program. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a one, and there's a tier 1 and a tier 2, and so I think some of the mentions that you guys have are definitely worthy. What I was saying, Drew, is I think a lot of the mentions, even Howard, I mean, a lot of those mentions are worthy of maybe tier 2.
I'm sorry, Brian. I got cut off again. I don't know if you heard Fayetteville State and Howard as honorable mentions.
Yeah. That's where I was going. I was going with the tier 1 and 2. So that,
Yes.
and remember, I was talking about. Remember, I mentioned would be cool to have a ranking of, and to do this sort of in a ranking format, and to say, okay, let's really look at it from a ranking perspective. If we were to rank number 1, I would say Norfolk State would be number 1 right now.
Two regular season titles. If they both win their conference titles, you have no argument from me.
Okay. Which is rare, by the way. Obviously,
right.
It's very rare to win both.
Right.
So
Miles would be number 2.
Miles would be 2. Okay.
Well, you had a division champion on the men's side, division runner-up on the women's side, and then you flip that in the tournament. The women win the tournament, and the men finish as runner-up.
That's good. That's good. Good. Now, look, I know that, we're looking at the past.
We just talk about this year, this
right.
current year.
And I think here's the thing you gotta. Now, it is a interesting question to kind of look at. Do you look at this year and then maybe a past 3 year? And I would say if you looked at a past 3 year, I think you'd still have Norfolk State in the running if you looked at the past 3 years.
I would agree.
Yeah. So that's 1 and 2. So who's your 3? Who would you put in 3? Would you give Grambling State any props for being number 3? Or maybe go somewhere else?
Men won and women finished second, correct?
Correct.
So right now they would be, depending on the tournament success and or failures, they would be able to challenge Miles. Because they're in a similar situation as Miles.
Right.
And the other team, once again, number 4.
Langston.
Langston, Miles. Let's see. Langston and Miles are identical. Men won their regular season. No, Langston would be ahead of Miles because the men won regular season and conference tournament. Women finished second and second, but I would give Langston the edge because of the men's national rank.
Right. All right. Let's take a look at the MEAC. First bracket that I've got here is the men's bracket, which came out. Of course, the number 1 seed is Norfolk State. I believe Norfolk State finished the regular season with a
The mute monster is back, Brian.
I was saying that I had Norfolk State. They won their 13th home game in a row. Let's see. Norfolk State went 11-3 in conference play. It's their fourth regular season title since joining the MEAC in 97-98. They finished 20-10, had a perfect 13-0 record at home in Eccles Arena. So props to Norfolk State.
Now, can they take that success and travel across town to the scope?
Yeah, and I apologize. This graphic is something that I pulled from the MEAC site. Really, it's poorly designed because it's got more. You've got text in it, but really, you probably need more. When I show you the SWAC graphic, you props to the SWAC for their graphic, but the MEAC graphic is like, I don't even know why I put this out there. I could have just read all this to you. So I'm going to apologize to those of you watching. Matter of fact, I'm going to take it off the screen because it's so poorly. I just looked at it. It's so poorly designed. But anyway. The seeding for the MEAC goes with the 1 seed Norfolk State. Let's see. The 2 seed is North Carolina Central. And let's see. They were actually in 4th heading into the final night. Ended up tying with Howard and South Carolina State with a 9-5 mark, and they ended up getting the tiebreaker, so they end up being the 2 seed.
So we had some Biakish stuff going on.
You did. And remember, we kind of talked about this. We talked about the 2, 3, and 4 would be interesting, and really from the standpoint, the only reason I think it matters is because one of those teams is going to have to play Norfolk State, but really, I don't think it matters.
2 and 3 didn't matter. 2 and 3 really didn't matter. Is you didn't want to be the 4.
And I don't, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I think by the time these teams have played each other twice, and I think when you go and look at the matchups, I don't think there's going to be any. Put it like this: if it ends up with the top 4 seeds, if one of the top 4 of all 4 top seeds, which Norfolk State is a 1, North Carolina Central is the 2, South Carolina State is the 3 seed, and they won 5 of their last 6 MEAC games. And Howard is actually the defending tournament champs. They are a 4 seed. If you get those 4 teams on the semifinal night, I think it can be anybody's draw.
Right. And you mentioned, Brian, that they played each other twice during the season, which we know there's a double round robin in the MEAC. But shout out to the schedule makers. This was the matchup that we had Thursday night. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Exactly. Yes, it is. It is exactly. It's the matchup we had. You're 100% correct.
The top 4 played each other on Thursday night.
Yes, they did.
So the schedule makers got that one right.
Yep. I'm sitting here. I'm trying to find. I found the odds, and I posted these. I'm trying to see which day I posted these odds. For the tournament, and I wanted to get your take on it real quick. Obviously, the 5th seed is Morgan State, and so Morgan State will take on Howard in the opening round. That'll be fun to watch Howard and Morgan State fans debate over. Just watch the debate on Twitter between those 2 fan bases. That'll be interesting. Delaware State is the 6th seed. That's interesting. That's a scary 6. And so South Carolina State, who I don't think many people have expected much from South Carolina State in the past, but I think Delaware State is a team that's capable. Put it like that. I think Delaware State is capable. Maryland Eastern Shore is the 7, and Coppin State is the 8. Okay, so here are the odds. Now, I posted these. What day did I post these odds? The 9th. What day was the 9th? Oh, that was yesterday.
Yesterday, yes.
Yeah, that was like real early in the morning. I woke up out of my slumber and I said, "Oh, let me go see what the MEAC odds are." So on the FanDuel Sportsbook, I found the odds to win the MEAC tournament. Norfolk State plus 200. That means if you were to lay $100 on Norfolk State to win, you would get $200. North Carolina Central is the second favorite, plus 210. Almost even. That's almost even odds, Drew.
Yes.
Howard, who is the 4 seed, the next best odds at plus 440. South Carolina State, who's the 3 seed, plus 500. Delaware State plus 900 and Morgan State plus 3,000.
Ooh. So all those Bears up there.
Which again, Morgan State is a 5 seed. So if you put it like this, if I were a Morgan State Bear fan, I mean, it's not inconceivable that a 5 seed could win a pair of games and get to the championship game. You know,
which anything could happen at that point.
Anything can happen. Basically, plus 3,000 means a $10 wager. That's a little pizza money. Would yield you about $300. So I know personally, I'm looking at that Norfolk State plus 200. I think that's good money. But if there were a second bet on the line, Drew, I would say watch out for South Carolina State at plus 500. You know, either South Carolina State or Howard are enticing. Like if I only had to lay one, it'd be hard to look away from the defending champs, Howard at plus 440.
That's why I would put mine.
But their opening round opponents, I'm gonna be real. I don't like the fact that they got to play Morgan in the opening round. And again, tomorrow when we do a deep dive on all this, I'm gonna go look. We got to go look up the year matchups and kind of see how these teams played. But again, you're playing on a neutral site. Really, the host city is in the backyard of Norfolk State. So I don't, maybe we have to go with what's a statistic that you would go look at, like for someone who wants to say, hey, I'm filling out my MEAC bracket. Would you go and look at the season home and away records, or would you more so go look at how these teams played at the scope the last 2 seasons?
Honestly, if I was to look at one stat that may determine what happens in not only this tournament, but these tournaments in general, look at your rebounding stat.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Team that wins the rebounding battle usually wins the game come tournament time. And that's for 2 reasons, Brian. Defense picks up in the tournament. So when do you have a lot of rebounds? When defense picks up and you have a lot of big shots, correct?
Okay.
But let's take a deeper dive. Let's take a deeper dive in that rebounding stat. Look at offensive rebounds. If a team, especially if a team has a 2-to-1 offensive rebounding advantage, and those equate to second chance points, that team's going to win 9 times out of 10.
Okay, that's great. Great information there, Drew.
That's the underlying information. That I would look at. Yeah.
A&T Roy says Morgan beat North Carolina Central both times. So see what I'm talking about? That would worry me. If Morgan were to beat Howard, that's who they potentially would play in the semifinals. Potentially North Carolina Central. So when I talk about, the question is, can Morgan beat Howard? So if I'm going to go do some digging, I'm going to go do some digging and kind of see how Morgan and Morgan and Howard played in those two games.
Yeah.
Over on the women's side of the MEAC, The defending tournament champs are Norfolk State. They finished the regular season with a 92.9 winning percentage, setting a school record for the best winning percentage in school history since joining the MEAC in 96 or 98, 99. They finished with a 13-1 conference record. I believe their only loss was to, I think it was Howard. I think that was the only loss. Somebody in the chat room correct me if that was Howard women. Who did Norfolk State lose to in their one loss? We'll know more tomorrow. Speaking of Howard, Howard finished the regular season 10-4 in the MEAC. They are the 2 seed. They did. Yep. Howard was the only team to defeat Norfolk State. See, if I'd have read a little more, I would have found that out. Howard will take on the 7 seed Morgan State, who finished 3-11. Norfolk State, by the way, takes on the 8 seed South Carolina State. North Carolina Central women are the 3 seed. They finished 9-5. They will play Delaware State, who was the 6th seed. And those 2 teams split during the regular season, with Delaware State winning the last meeting in overtime, 75-64. Coppin State is the 4 seed via a conference tiebreaker against Maryland Eastern Shore. And so, not that it really, the only way it matters, Drew, is somebody gets to wear white and somebody's wearing dark.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's it. It's the 3rd meeting between the 2 Maryland rivals in the past 5 seasons in the opening round. Isn't that interesting? So these 2 teams have met. This is the 3rd time in the past 5 years that they have met in the opening round. I have to go look and see how those games were split before you make any selections and predictions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right. What on the MEAC, Brian?
Yeah.
Talking point.
Okay.
And I've looked at this. You know, there's been some conferences that have played their tournament this week. In some of the mid-major conference, Ohio Valley for one. I believe CAA for another one, correct?
Correct.
Would it behoove the MEAC, especially with only a 14-game conference schedule, and, you know, there's a week in mid-January or early February where they just don't play because they don't have enough games to play? Would it behoove the MEAC to move their conference tournament up a week to this week? You're still not competing with the CIAA.
Right.
And maybe you may get some Division I HBCU fans who have to make their choice to go to the SWAC or the MEAC. Maybe you can get some fans who want to go to both who would actually be able to do both. And last thing, considering that 9 times out of 10, the MEAC champion, both on the men and the women's side, are going to play in that first 4. That would give them a week of rest before going on to that first 4, instead of scrambling and trying to have everything ready in 2 days.
I'll because we're in spring break season, I'll ask the question: are students beginning their spring break at MEAC schools or ending them?
That's a good variable to throw in there, Brian.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting variable to throw in there. And also, I don't know if there's other events happening in the Norfolk Scope Arena that may prevent them having the tournament that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know what I'm saying?
And you
That's
can even go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday if you move it up a week instead of having to necessarily finish it on a Saturday. Or let's flip it. Let's go. How about Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? A Saturday, Sunday format may help with your attendance, where you've got all your teams playing on Saturday. Everybody can be there on the Saturday to support their team, and then stay over Saturday to Sunday for the semifinals. Or where you'll be playing 2 quarterfinals. So you play one set of quarterfinals on Saturday, another set of quarterfinals on Sunday. I think it would help with your attendance if you did a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
I don't know. I mean, the MEAC has sort of built they built a strong case and a strong following with. I'm sure there's a lot of events and parties and things like that are going on. I don't.
But with all 8 fan bases there Saturday and Sunday, wouldn't they make those parties even better with the teams playing Saturday and Sunday?
I think what's good about what I do like about the MEAC is that you can get in. You could take a weekend, a Thursday, Friday, and because of the setup, you could get in on a Thursday night, or let's just say you get it.
You missed the first quarterfinals though.
Well, okay, so let me backtrack. I could get in on a Thursday, right? I'm only taking 2 days off work, Thursday and Friday, but I'm getting a chance to I don't have to fly out until Sunday afternoon or maybe Sunday morning.
Right.
And I get the whole Saturday because they play that game usually early in the afternoon. I get the whole Saturday night to party and do whatever. So it really is I actually like, of all the formats, the format of the MEAC tournament. What I don't like about the MEAC tournament is what they do to the teams that play Friday night. They have to turn around and play early on Saturday. I don't think any game, the championship games on Saturday for the MEAC, and I know it's all based on television, I don't think any of them should start before at least 2:00.
Right. You want to get as close to the 24-hour rule as possible.
Exactly. Which I didn't look at the bracket yet or the times, but
somebody's going to get screwed.
Somebody's going to get screwed because it happened last year.
Yeah.
I think it happened to Norfolk State, and they ended up losing, matter of fact. Not that I think it really made a difference, but, I mean, if you wanted to use a reason, you could go there.
Like I said, I just thought I'd bring that up for conversation purposes, as far as possibly moving the tournament up a week to get on the week where there is less traffic, not only for HBCU fans, but for basketball fans in general.
Gotcha. All right. You want to take a look at? Let's take a look at the SWAC tournament here, which the regular season ended, and I'm going to start with the women. I'll start with the women, and so there's the SWAC tournament field.
Nice clean bracket.
Beautiful clean bracket. Look, you even got the logos, so you can kind of see who's who. You don't even have to, you don't even have to dig deep and look at names. You see the logo.
And where is it streaming on, Brian? I can't see it.
No, it's all over the place. It's all on ESPN Plus, with the championship being on ESPNU. So now the SWAC uses a 4-day model where they'll start on Wednesday the 13th, and they split the quarterfinals in 2. So half of the bracket play on Wednesday, the other half play on Friday. So there's no more than 4 games in one day. Then when
Wednesday,
they get to
Thursday, Brian.
What did I say?
Wednesday, Friday. It's Wednesday, Thursday with the semis on Friday.
Yeah, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday is the semifinal day. Okay, 4 games on Friday. Saturday being the championship day. All right. Of course, as you can see, the number 1 seed is Jackson State. 18-0. And they start at, Doc says that the top seed gets to start first. Top seeds start on Wednesday. So Grambling and Jackson State play their games on Wednesday, which
gives them a day off in the tournament.
They get a day off. So it's sort of the one little advantage to being the top seed is the fact that you do get that rest. So Jackson State will take on Prairie View, but the very first game of the day, Grambling State taking on Florida A&M. Interesting that obviously the Florida A&M, Prairie View, and Alcorn, I believe, all finished 8-10. And via the tiebreakers, Alcorn ended up getting the 6th seed. FAMU got the 7. Prairie View got the 8. I think I'm saying that right in terms of the way it all worked out. Bethune-Cookman was the team that was on the outside looking in. So going into the last day of the regular season, you had 4 teams vying for 3 spots. Somebody could have got left out based on results.
And who knocked who out again, Brian?
So essentially, Florida A&M knocked out. I don't know if they technically knocked out Bethune, because I think Prairie View is the team that. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up here because I didn't look at the actual results. I think it was Prairie View's win that knocked Bethune out. Yes, Florida A&M had to win to get in. They control their own destiny, but there still was a scenario, I think, in which Bethune could have got in, but I think they needed Prairie View to lose. And so hold on, I was Edwin says he's shocked that Bethune didn't beat FAMU. Well, I'll tell you what's even more shocking, Edwin, is that FAMU beat Bethune without their top 3 scorers in the final 4 minutes of the ball game, because they all fouled out. Including my opinion, the presumptive MVP, Ariana Grizzle. She fouled out with 4 minutes to go, 4:13 to go. She picked up her 5th foul. And so without her and the next 2 leading scorers in the game, FAMU was able to pull out a victory. So Prairie View lost to Texas Southern. Alcorn beat Pine Bluff 59-52. I think that's what happened. I think that's what happened. The fact that Alcorn defeated Pine Bluff pushed Alcorn or held them into the 6th spot. Yes, and Prairie View finished 7-11. So I think what would have happened is, had Bethune-Cookman won, had they beaten Florida A&M, and had Alcorn State lost, then you would have had 4 teams at 7-11, and then you might have had some. I don't know we had to see what the tiebreakers were.
We'd have had some Miyake stuff in the SWAC.
Yeah. But Alcorn State and FAMU controlled their destiny. They both won to get in, and thus Bethune-Cookman ended up on the short side of the stick. No tears for those cats. And so they ended up, what did Mike say? Bethune scored 1 basket the entire 4th quarter. I knew it was bad. I knew it was bad. So there you see UAPB, Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M is hot. UAPB, the wheels have, I tweeted this. I said the wheels have fallen off that Cadillac. That is a team that they seem to be ready to. The season might be over.
Spring break on 3. Spring break on 3. Everybody.
1, 2, 3. Spring break. Because Alabama A&M. Now the crazy part is I know Alabama A&M has lost the last 2. Prior to that, I think Alabama A&M had won like 5 or 6 in a row, something like that. Let me just go look at what Arkansas Pine Bluff slide has been. They have
Since
lost.
the incident.
Well, let me see. The incident happened at Alabama A&M.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, so they lost there. Then they lost at Prairie View. They did get a win, but they played the 2 worst teams in the conference, Texas Southern and Valley. They got wins there, but then they turned around and lost at Jackson State, lost at Alcorn.
So that's 4 of 6.
4 of 6, and really 5 of 8. So in that mix though, they've lost to Alabama A&M already, 67-59. They beat them early in the season, but I don't think you can really count that game because that was a different team back on January 6th. So we'll see. We'll see. You know, who knows? Maybe the tournament UAPB could rally.
With a star player play.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. What's interesting though is I just want to hear your take on this. Now, obviously, you know, over on the O&G Strike Zone, we're pro FAMU, obviously.
Right.
And I've been very adamant and vocal that Ariana Grizzle could be the player of the year in the conference. What's your thought on a player who has put up this sort of offensive numbers that she has put up on a team that is the 7th seed, and also in a year when no other player has really statistically, and I'm saying statistically, stood out in a way like she has. And I say that because Jackson State has some great players, but none of them have really stood out individually from a point production. I mean, other than defensively, I think Angel Jackson will win Defensive Player of the Year without a doubt. Zay Green, maybe a preseason favorite. She, from a points production wise, has been surpassed by Grizzle, and then of course, you know what's going on with the team situation. I mean, you know, I don't know. What's your take? What's your thought? I don't know if you've been paying attention to the debate or if you've even given any look at who should be the player of the year. But what's your thought on that?
I haven't looked that close as you have with this, but here's the path for Grizzle. I'm not sure how the SWAC votes if you just get one vote or if you get a first, second, third place vote. If you get a first, second, or third place vote, there is a path for her to win it because there is no dominant player on the dominant team, being Jackson State. They have a couple of great players, but no one is dominant. Then you go to Grambling, same thing. You have great players on the team, but there's not a dominant
player,
statistically dominant player.
Right.
So what would happen for Grizzle if you have a system where you get a first place, second place, and a third place vote? She could possibly accumulate enough second and third place votes just based on her statistical dominance, where she has a path forward. But if you limit a person to one vote, it's tough for a person to give that one vote to a team that finished 7th in its conference.
But let me argue this. And again, as you great point out about the Jackson State and Grambling situation, you've got 2 or 3 different players that you could go to. from those teams. So if you were to vote for if you had just one vote, you're probably selecting maybe somebody may say Mike Crump, somebody may say Angel Jackson. Same thing for Graham.
You have the cancellation factor.
Exactly. Which there's only one player that you're going to look at from UAPB. There's only one player that you're going to look at from Florida A&M.
And UAPB player eliminated themselves.
I just don't see. Okay, we've seen the SWAC voters. Look, I said this earlier. When you look at the football season, there are people who have had questions about the SWAC football players of the year this past season, right? Yeah. Now that could be a pro and con because many people thought Ladarius Owens should have been the player of the year. What place was his team? Right? The award went to who? The quarterback on the number one team that went unbeaten, right? So there's your case for the argument against Ariana Grizzle. But we've seen other publications, other media people in their own polls.
Just stop right there, Brian. That's where you're making your mistake.
Okay.
Because media people aren't voting on this. This is coaches and SIDs.
Okay. Great point.
Given that 24 votes, you cannot vote for your own player. You're not supposed to vote for your own player.
Allegedly.
Okay. So maximum somebody can pick up is 22 points, 22 votes. It's going to be tough for somebody not to do it and give it to Grizzle. Now, what Grizzle may wind up getting it at is those teams that finish below her.
Right. And if it only comes down to one vote, right, and they say, oh, we only get one vote? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So that's a path forward.
Say that part again. You lost you a little bit. Okay. I lost you there for a second, so I maybe lost the last point that you said.
I said we'll find out next week.
We will. It'll be interesting. I'm gonna
now.
Yeah. EA says now, obviously EA a rattler, so we take this all with a grain of salt. Tamika Reed, obviously unbeaten record, 18-0. You expected that. You expected that. How many votes might Bridget Gordon get at Florida A&M as the 7th seed?
None.
Late hire. No
None.
recruiting. Walk-ons and a 7th seed.
None.
None?
None.
Okay. So will Tamika Reed be unanimous? Is the question.
I don't see why she wouldn't be.
Okay. I'm always fascinated.
No, she won't be unanimous. There'll be a hater vote in there. This is SWAC we talking about. There'll be a hater vote in there.
Why is it a hater vote? I don't think it's a hater vote. Look, I think it's more of an appreciation for. Again, I think what's interesting the fact that SIDs and coaches make these, which I think is crazy that they don't have any inclusion of media in this. Especially because those people get a chance to watch everybody. Okay.
Hey Brian, how about I work in a conference where the SID votes every week of the season, but the coaches get to vote on first team and second team and player of the year the last week. They haven't voted all season.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I always what I find interesting though, and I see some Reed should win unanimous. when you look at the coach of the year, if I were a voter, okay, if I were a voter, and I'm not, okay, I can only make the argument the same way I'm gonna make the argument for Ariana Grizzle to be the MVP. And yes, I understand she's on a 7th place team. But I will tell you, and what I was looking for, I was trying to find any of you who are familiar with Ken Palm. Ken Palm does some great statistical analytic numbers for the men's college basketball game. Like, I can go look at the SWAC and say, who do you guys think should be the SWAC men's player of the year? I'm interested to hear what people think about that, because I wonder if it fits the name that Ken Palm has said is the one of the best players from an analytics standpoint, right? And his team is one of the top 3 teams, okay? So that's a hint. But when you think of the award of most valuable player, coach of the year, sometimes, even the coach who's been undefeated, and I think this is the 2nd time that she's been undefeated, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think she went undefeated one time previously before. Even though she's been undefeated previously and was undefeated this past season, sometimes when you do something that nobody expected you to do, and under the circumstances which you do them, doesn't that have to be? Wouldn't you factor that in? I know I would factor that in to my vote. And so
factor it in. Yes,
you call it a hate. You call it a hater vote as to why someone wouldn't choose Tamika Reed. But I think it wouldn't be a hater vote. I think it would be more so an appreciation that somebody else did something that was really spectacular with what they had to work with. Like, you knew you expected Jackson State to do, and look, it's hard winning, it's hard being at the top, it's hard winning at the top. So the different kind of pressure that Jackson State deals with, the women. But when I tell you, and you look at the job, and look, I mean, I don't know, just a thought. I'm glad.
Two things, and we're gonna move off of this. This is not the same team that she won with in the past. This is a new team, Brian, and she's continuing her success.
I get that, and I'm just saying, but the expectation level, I think the expectation
but it's still new group of players. Number one. Number two,
they're not all new. They're not all
new. But new roles.
Wait a minute, say that again. Hold on. The internet doesn't want you to get your number 2 point out. You know, you keep getting sniped. Your number 2 point. There's no hate in my heart. There's no hate in my heart. I love Jackson State women's basketball program. So stop it. Stop it. Go ahead. What's your second point? All right. Drew can't get his second point out. See, he was trying to get a second point out, and the internet wouldn't let him do it. See, I told you. What'd you say? Hello?
Are you there?
All right.
All right, are you there?
I'm here.
I was saying these may not be new players, but they're in new roles. Number one, these players are in new roles. Number two, were you not the one who last week tweeted out a graphic showing where Tamika Reed ranks, not only among HBCU coaches, but among some of the best coaches in all of basketball, including Dawn Staley? Did that not come off of your X machine?
It came right off of my. Yep, I did that. I did that.
With the misspelled name and everything of the one school.
I didn't do that part though. I didn't do that
I
part.
know you didn't do that part, but you retweeted it.
Again.
Okay.
If I had a vote, okay, yes, we'll move on. Let me just be clear. If I had a vote, I would vote for Tamika Reed. I would. Yes, I would. Okay. And if I had a vote for the player of the year, it would be for Ariana Grissom. So there's my. And if I had a defensive player of the year, I would give it to Angel Jackson. I would. She would get defensive player of the year. So there's my 3 votes. So it's on wax. It's official. And just to let everybody know. But, I think it'll be interesting to see.
And next Sunday, we can talk about how right or wrong you were.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Okay. The men's bracket. Here's what the men's bracket looks like. The number 1 seed, Grambling State. I think Doc had said that as a result of them Grambling losing to Alabama State in double overtime. That was an infuriating game, by the way. I had Grambling in game plus 450, Drew. And they should have won in regulation, and they should have won in overtime. But Alabama State, I think, tied the game up in both scenarios, either at the buzzer or with like a second or 2 to go. And they ended up winning in double overtime 87-84. So, with that said, I think that Alabama State win, I think, knocked Prairie View out of, I think, by some tiebreakers. I heard Doc say this, that's a result that Prairie View could have gotten the 8th spot in the tournament. But unfortunately for them, they end up as
here's the breakdown.
No, I take that back. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me see. No, it wasn't. No, Prairie View wasn't. Let me see. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a second. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, Prairie View, I don't think was in
7, 8. Yeah, no, Prairie View wasn't in it. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, okay, go ahead. Yeah. What's your point?
And this is a direct text from Bo Carter to our group chat. Who says the final day of the season doesn't matter? AAMU's victory over Southern clinched the 7th spot for the Bulldogs. Southern's loss at the time dropped them to 3rd. Then Texas Southern's victory put TSU and Southern in a tie, which the Tigers got the tiebreaker due to points in their split victory. A combination of all of the above allowed Alcorn to win and snag the number 2 seed. UAPB lost, and that opened the door for Bama State, but the Hornets needed double overtime to get the victory and the 8th spot due to points. That is why you play the game, and that's a quote from Mo Carter.
Thank you. I was trying to recall it. I'm glad you had the actual text message. So, yeah, UAPB was the team who ended up on the outside. And so we get a rematch in the opening round between Grambling and Alabama State. Alcorn State, the 2 seed, takes on Alabama A&M. Southern and Bethune-Cookman, that's the 4-5 matchup. Texas Southern, Jackson State. Now,
and I'll tell you what was funny. What's funny about this, Brian? And I was at Alabama State last week, and Alabama State thought there was no way in hell they were going to be in Birmingham this week.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know. It's good to know. That's a team playing with house money. Then that's a team going in playing. They're going playing with house money. Any pressure on Grambling? Yeah, I think there might be a little pressure on Grambling. Just saying. Keep an eye out on that point spread. Might be worth taking Alabama State on the point spread. One team's going in tight. One team's going to be real loose because they didn't expect to be there. That's always a dangerous team. Kind of like Texas Southern last year. Real thankful to be there as an 8 seed. And then what did they do? Ended up winning the doggone thing. Just saying. It can happen. Okay. The big question, though, obviously, Grambling, Alcorn is the team that's won 9 games in a row, literally 9 in a row, Drew. Texas Southern had a nice streak going before they lost to Alcorn, which I think is their only loss over the last maybe 7 or 8 games. And I honestly think those are your 3 favorites. Now, I don't know if there's a dark horse outside of it, but I honestly feel like your champion is going to come out of that triumvirate of Grambling, Alcorn, and Texas Southern. And it's going to be hard for me to look anywhere other than Texas Southern, given the fact that they have won 7 of the last 10 SWAC tournaments. What's your take on the top 3 seeds?
Hey, it's not nicknamed the Texas Southern Invitational for a reason, Brian. I'm going to leave my comments right there.
Well said. I don't think Alcorn will have much trouble with Alabama A&M in the first round. I've already told you about watch out for Bama State on the money line or on the point spread, playing with house money. They lost to Grambling State by 6 the first time, beat them in double overtime the second time, and like you said, they didn't expect to be there a week ago.
Correct.
Texas Southern has sort of Jackson State and Texas Southern split during the year, but again, one of those was very early in the season. The first meeting in which Jackson State won. I think Texas Southern's been a different squad. These 2 teams have met twice before in Birmingham. Texas Southern won both times. The upset that I think should be on everybody's mind, and Carlos Brown he's going to hate me for saying this, Bethune-Cookman has won the last 3 meetings against Southern, and they've won 4 of the last 5 meetings against Southern. That's all under Reggie Theus. And they swept Southern this season. And I think, as much as a 5-4 is an upset, which really it's not, I think that's the game. That's the game that, if you said, hey, which lower seed has the best chance to win on day one, I'd say Bethune. So, but I'm really going to try to see how much I can invest in looking at the odds for Grambling, Alcorn, and Texas Southern. Last year, Texas Southern was plus 1,400, or no, plus 1,300 to win the tournament last year, and they won it. But there's a history, though, of the top seeds really winning this thing. So, I think we'll have to kind of look back and see what happens here. But again, tomorrow night, Drew and I, along with some of our colleagues on the Black College Sports Network, we're going to do a SWAC and MEAC tournament preview. We're going to take a little bit of time, not as long as we like to spend on this Sunday night, but we're going to really kind of break down the matchups and kind of see if we can find, at that point, I think we'll kind of know what the numbers are, the lines are. We'll know what the odds are for winning the tournament. And so we can put all that together and kind of give you our perspective and our take. We might even fill out a bracket, Drew. How about that? I think we deserve to fill out a bracket. Why not? So that's what you can look forward to tomorrow night right here on the Black College Sports Network. Probably 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. From Drew, myself, we'll try to get some of our friends to join us, and we'll see, what we can glean from from the analysis, and then we'll sit back and watch how the games play out. All right. Any final thoughts you want to add, Drew, before we shut down tonight?
Your comments on this proposed NIL tournament.
So, what Drew is referring to is a report that came out. I think we first saw it on frontofficesports.com on their Twitter and IG handle. Is that, and I don't know if this was, I don't know what entity this was, but somebody is proposing an NIL-based early season or mid-season tournament. Like
$1 million tournament.
Yeah, so essentially it'd be, what they do is the winning team would get like $1 million, and what they do is every player, it would go into an NIL pot for those players. So, take $1 million and divide it up among however many players are on the roster, if it's 13, 12, 14, whatever. And I mean, that's a nice sum. That's almost 100,000, a little less than 100,000 probably for each player if it's just $1 million, right?
Right.
And I think it's an absolutely genius idea. And it's long overdue. Long overdue. Because, again, these teams travel all over the country. They'll play in these fields of 8. So that let's take the Maui Invitational. Now, I don't know if this was the Maui Invitational that was proposing this, but if those of you who are familiar with college basketball early in the season, the Maui Invitational is a big tournament. It's an 8-team field. You'll get some
Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, right. And it'll be a nationally ranked teams. They're playing on ESPN. It's great TV. You get 3 games. Everybody plays, no matter whether you're playing in the championship or whether you are playing, but the matchups are good. So I guess the winning team of the tournament is the team that would get the NIL money, which I think is good. I mean, I don't think it's the end of the, people kill me with this whole, it's just one more reason the NCAA is going to fall. What? The amount of money that the networks are making off advertising from this game of bringing the nationally ranked teams, the amount of money and exposure that the schools get, you know what? It's about time that the players start to get a little of that trickle-down money. The question is, Drew, can something like that, or better yet, when will something like that be replicated at the HBCU level? And I'm going to give you a great scenario for something that could make this very interesting. Let's just say, let's take 2 teams, the top 2 teams from the SWAC, the top 2 teams from the MEAC. Okay? Whoever it
Men
may
or
be.
women?
Well, really,
Okay.
I want the women. I would take the women. That's what I would. I mean, I'm dying to see a Norfolk State versus Jackson State match next year. I don't know who's going to have the guts to make it happen. I don't know which one of these mid-season games in the Chris Paul, the Michael B. Jordan, the HBCU All-Star class. Somebody, for the love of heavens, somebody make this game happen. Norfolk State versus Jackson State, the 2 best women's programs over the last 2 to 3 seasons. We've got to have a matchup between these 2. I mean, people were watching LSU and South Carolina today. Great contest, right? I would love to see Jackson State versus Norfolk State play. Me personally. But I think that's the kind of contest it could be. All right, welcome back. Doc dropped some in. Okay, so again, with me not having the story here, I appreciate Doc jumping in. Dr. Cavill says it is $1 million per team to participate for the players to divide, and the championship earns an additional $1 million to split among the team members. Okay, that's even juicier. I like that even more. What's your thoughts on this, Drew? Drew, I got you. All right, I don't know. I don't have Drew. I know he sounds like he's there, but he's not there. Emmett says the Celebration Bowl can do it. Okay, I don't know about that, but I think. Hello, Drew, you back?
I'm here.
All right, lost there. Did you hear what I had said about the info that Doc had dropped? That it's $1 million per team to participate.
Yeah, I was able to read it. I just couldn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I don't remember who it was. Somebody said something about amateurism. Who was that? That's EA. EA. Amateurism is gone to crap. These kids have been professionals for years, and they've been worked like professionals. Just now have not been getting the rewards of it. Now they're starting to get some of the rewards of it. And why not? Because let's be real. For some of these players, Brian, this is not quite generational wealth, but it's it's a good start on that nest egg. We'll just say that for some of these players, because some of these role players who coming off the bench, they'll never make it to the league. They'll never play overseas. They're truly there for their education, and a lot of them, some of them may even be walk-ons. So for them to have this opportunity to earn this money, why not?
I'll add to that and say to EA, if they're just proposing $1 million for the team that gets split and cut up 13, 14 ways,
How much are they making?
Thank you. How much is the school making?
Because that's $9 million that they're talking about. $1 million per team plus an extra $1 million to the winner. That's $9 million.
So how much is the school making? How much is the event making? I mean, the fact that someone can even propose that is telling you that the money is there.
Right.
It's being made somehow, some way.
That's just like a job paying you $20 an hour, Brian. They're paying you $20 an hour, but how much production are they really getting out of you? $40, $50 an hour?
Right. And again, as Doc says, look, we understand that finally the courts understood that the concept of amateurism, which, I mean, Olympic athletes have been able to take advantage of being amateur athletes, quote unquote. I mean, it's about time that college athletes have the same opportunity. So,
and I think it was Dartmouth, maybe some school with a D that just voted to unionize. Was that Dartmouth? I can't remember which sport. I can't remember which sport it was. It was a non-rev sport.
It was men's basketball, and it was Dartmouth University.
Was it basketball? I thought it was a non-rev.
No, it was their men's basketball team.
Okay. So, we're starting to see citizens' rights, basically, to go through it. Brian, basketball is a 60 solution. Amateur sports.
I lost your. We lost your point. We lost your signal, Drew. I'm not sure where you were going there. Great point by Doc that this isn't the net, that he doesn't think that he'll see the networks necessarily, but it'll be the promoters. In which then the promoters, as he continues, saying the promoters will seek for networks to broadcast the events, because of course the networks will broadcast. If a promoter has, and look, probably the one national tournament I can think of is the Nike tournament that is done by Phil Knight, right? Obviously it's Nike and they're Nike schools. So just imagine that they have Duke, Oregon, USC, Michigan, whoever the top teams are, okay? They're all Nike schools, okay? And they're all coming in to play. Yes. The promoter is going to come in and say, well, we're going to give $1 million to each team to come play. And we're going to have a bidding war on which network wants to broadcast this. ESPN will be the first one to jump up at the table. But, you better believe CBS will be there with their hands out. Fox will even come to the table. All three of the major networks will come forward. And I say ESPN/ABC. Who knows, man? NBC doesn't have much of a college basketball presence, but who knows? They may for 1 weekend want to jump in, because you got the best teams in the basketball country, in basketball, college basketball, playing in this field. And then you're giving the kids extra incentive. Now, I think it's perfect. I think it's a good. I would just like to see again, and and I come back to saying, hey, can something like this relate at an HBCU level? And I say, yes, it can. If I were a promoter, and I don't think something like this can work in football because there's too many people. So I think in a smaller sport, volleyball, basketball, where the numbers are smaller, but the impact is just as much. If a promoter were to say, we're going to do an NIL game featuring Jackson State and Norfolk State, and now I'm going to somebody who wants to broadcast it. Man, what are you saying? What are you saying? That's where we are these days, folks. That's where we are. Doc says the Houston Cougars, the #1 team in the country. Yep, they signed to participate, of course. Who is the Doc? If you can, who is the promoter? Is it? I just mentioned the Nike thing. I don't know. Is that Nike? How will it be challenged by Title IX? EA, I don't think it will be. But I'll tell you what, though, EA, something like a promoter would be foolish not to do something that's in women's basketball. I mean, if you could have gone into this season, let's say back in November or December, and somebody had put a field of that feature. Now let's, obviously at the beginning of the year, I don't think anyone knew USC was going to be what they are. So, but let's just say maybe
USC, Iowa, South Carolina, and LSU.
Exactly. You'd be crazy not to put those 4 teams in a field. And then I might throw another team or two. Might throw in an Ohio State or, but you're going to go off the top teams. But again, there's so many. What's crazy is there are so many of these non-conference tournaments that are already existing. I don't want to say. I don't know. I think these things are already existing. So I guess at this point you're just needing a promoter that wants to throw an NIL incentive into it.
Yeah, Brian, these type of tournaments are, and what everybody is realizing is the same thing that we started realizing 2-3 years ago when it came to HBCU football and classics. There's more money out there to get, and people want their fair share of the money. In this case, it's the players that are trying to get their fair share of the money.
Well, again, the school, you really have to. You have to be careful about saying the players want their fair share, because the players really don't have control over the scheduling. So really, if Houston has signed up to do this, then that means Kelvin Sampson understands the importance of NIL. You'll be
Kelvin
surprised.
Sampson understands that if he wants top players, he needs to be in this tournament so that
exactly.
his players, so that he can get the top players to compete and win in this, so he can make more money. He understands the trickle down effect of this.
He understands the trickle down. You'd be surprised. There are still coaches who don't understand the trickle down of this, and all they see is they think about the evil of NIL. You still have media people still talking about the evil of NIL. Oh man, come on! You opened up the door. You opened up the door because you didn't create a model in which you were sharing your profits with student athletes. You could have the NCAA and schools could have prevented NIL probably a decade ago if they would have simply taken some of the money that they had, put it in some kind of escrow,
made a fuss.
If they would have put the money in an escrow and said, "Hey, after you graduate and you finish in the program, here's some of the money. Here's an escrow bank account featuring the money," and who knows what that could have looked like. You could imagine walking out of 4 years playing at Duke and all the money Duke made, and let's just say you walk out an escrow account that's got like $500,000 in it. That's what could have happened. But now, because you didn't want to share your profits and you wanted to just continue to, you didn't think no one was going to pass a law. You didn't think this day was coming. Well, now you've got NIL. So again, these two are what are we year now? This is what, year 3 or year 4 of NIL? I think we're only 3 years into NIL, right? 3 years. So 3 years of NIL has not made up for probably the past 25 years or 30 years that the college athletic industry has made millions and millions and millions off of college athletes. So, all right. With that said, we got to get out of here. Any final thought? I do want to give a final shout out to Hampton University. Hampton University got their first win in the CAA tournament win. Did you happen to catch the highlights on that, Drew?
No, I've not. I've been immersed in SIAC this week.
Gotcha. Well, for anybody who saw how Hampton ended up winning their first CAA win against Elon College, I think that was in the quarterfinal stage. It happened on a very nice baseline out of bound play, which I always say it's one of those passes, Drew, that sometimes players don't make because they're scared of making it, but it turned out to be a great play, and it ended up giving Hampton a 56-55 win over Elon with maybe like 2 or 3 seconds left in the ball game. I was on the other side of that, so while I was definitely upset that Elon lost, I was happy that for Hampton and Hampton Pirate fans that they won and got their first win in the CAA. And then they turned around the next night, played Delaware, and got beat by 30. So anyway, that's how their season ended. Also, shout out to Tennessee State's men and women. They won their first round games in the Ohio Valley Conference. The women, I think, were an 8 seed. They beat somebody in their first round game, and then the men, who were a 5 seed, won as well. So I don't think either team advanced past that point. But shout out to those teams for winning, and we'll see what happens to North Carolina A&T. North Carolina A&T is a 4 seed in the CAA women's tournament. So we'll see what happens to them. All right, Drew, say goodbye to the people. Hopefully you get home. How far are you? Hopefully you're getting home safely. How far are you away? All right. Well, I couldn't hear you. Say that again, Drew. Try it one more time.
I don't know if you caught that. I'm about 15 miles from home, man.
All right, man. Well, hey, safe travels. We'll recap. We'll touch base a little tomorrow. Again, we'll look at trying to do a show tomorrow night, a SWAC and MEAC tournament preview show tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Thank you to everybody for watching on Facebook and YouTube. Hit the thumbs up and the like button if you would on the way out, if you haven't already. Much appreciated. Appreciate everybody in the chat room. Sorry about all the audio technical difficulties throughout the course of the show. We'll strive to do better tomorrow night as you join us. So everybody have a good night. Be safe out there, especially you, Drew, trying to get home. And we'll look to do this again another time. Again, tomorrow night, SWAC MEAC basketball preview show right here on the Black College Sports Network. For A.D. Drew, I'm Brian Fulford. You guys be safe, be well, and exactly what she said. Be well, everybody. Peace out.
Travel light, everybody. We'll holler.
But stay on hard.